Hi guys, it's Miss Griffin. We're taking a look at Unit 5, Skill 3B, more with linear and circle systems. So last time you were looking a little bit at circle systems, but this time we're really going to dive into them because this time we're looking at when there's a center and a radius. So if you recall last year in geometry, we would have like x minus h parentheses squared plus y minus k parentheses squared equals r squared, where the h and k are your center and r is the radius. Well, we're taking those types of equations and solving a system given another equation. We're still going to solve it using substitution. So we know in this first one, it's kind of nice. They gave you x equals -5. So I'm going to substitute that -5 in wherever I see x in the second equation. So I'm going to start this with -5 plus 3 parentheses squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 16. The first part's pretty easy to simplify. -5 plus 3 is -2, square it, and you get 4. Plus, carry down the next part, the y minus 1 parentheses squared equals 16. Now remember, our goal is to solve for y. Currently it's in parentheses and being squared, so I have to get this 4 away. So we have parentheses y minus 1 squared equals 12. Now, just like you learned back in 4.5a and b, we have to undo the squaring. So to do that, I have to take the square root. So now I have y minus 1 equals, don't forget when you take the square root, you get a plus and a minus for that root. Square root of 12. And then I have to get, again, y by itself, so add the 1 to both sides. So now I have y equals plus and minus square root 12. Plus 1. So just as before, we have to write solutions, and so what I'm saying to you is that we already know x equals -5. So we have x equals -5, and then y is the first option, the positive 12 under the radical, plus 1. And then we have x equals -5, which would be the negative case, negative square root 12 plus 1. So before I can put those in my parentheses, curly brackets, etc., we have to do a check. The easiest way to do these checks is using the graphing calculator. So let's grab your calculator, and you're going to type in the first equation into F1, and then actually, you can't type it in just yet. Hold tight. We're going to pull up a calculator. Okay, so we've got our calculator ready. I've cleared out everything that's in there, and now I'm going to hit Menu. I'm going to choose Graph Entry Edit. Normally you would just hit Tab and you'd be like, oh, okay, type in the equation, but this is an x equals equation instead of a y equals. So we need to hit Menu 3 and then Choice 2 for Relation. That allows you to type in whatever type of equation that you want to. So down at the bottom you see your x, y, and z in those white buttons, so you need to hit x, and then the equals button is next to Control, x equals, and it's a -5. So I'm going to hit Enter, and it plots it. Then I'm going to do that a second time to type in the circle. So Graph Entry Edit, which is Menu 3, Choice 2. So it's parentheses, x minus, I believe, it's x plus 3, parentheses squared, plus parentheses, y minus 1, parentheses squared, equals 16. So I hit Enter, and looky there, it crosses the graph not only in one spot, but a second spot. So I need to actually see if those intersection points are accurate. And so now I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, Menu 6, and we want intersection. Now this is a little different than normal intersections because it's asking for first corner, and then you'll see what happens when we click and we drag, it's asking for the second corner. So you're kind of like putting a box around the point of intersection. And it's -5, 4.46. And then if I were to check the second one, it looks like I'd have to do it a second time. Okay, let's see. Menu 6, 4, first corner, box it in, And we've got our intersection points. So I would just want to see if negative 12 or negative square root of 12 plus 1 is one of these two y values, the 4.46 and the negative 2.46, and then test the positive case, square root of 12 plus 1. So let's actually try that real quick. Square root 12 plus 1 gives me that 4.46, and then negative square root 12 plus 1 gives me that negative 2.46. So we would draw that little picture on our paper, show that it worked out in the check, so it would just look something like this, and then we can choose both answers as our solution. So all I've done so far since I just stopped that little video was I drew out the check, I showed that it crossed twice. Technically I should be writing the points at which they cross, which would be negative 5 and then this, and negative 5 and this. So we've got our two solutions here because we've done the check. So we're going to take a look at the next example. And we've got, again, a system of equations, but this time we don't have just an x equals. So we have to get this equal to one variable. Typically we get it into y equals. So this would look like y equals negative x plus 5. Then again, by substitution, I take this whole entire thing and replace any y's with that expression. So now we have the x plus 3 squared plus negative x plus 5 minus 3 squared equals 53. And now our goal is to solve this. And so to do so, we're going to have to expand both of these. So this would look like x plus 3 times x plus 3. The next one, if I combine like terms first, I have negative x plus 2. So that would look like plus negative x plus 2 times negative x plus 2. And then, of course, the equals 53 just carries down. So now we're going to double distribute. Pause your video while you do this. Check to see if your answer is correct. So again, double distribute here and then here. So I've double distributed, double check your answers to see if they're correct, and now I'm going to combine like terms. So I've got x squared and x squared make 2x squared, 3x, negative 2x makes positive 2x, and then 9 and 4 make 13, equals 53. So then here we've got this quadratic that started, but remember when we solve quadratics we love it to be equal to 0. So I'm going to bring this 53 to the other side and rewrite what we've got. So we have 2x squared plus 2x. When I subtract 53, I'm at negative 40 now, equals 0. And now our goal is to solve this by factoring. Think about what's in common. Pull it out, that 2. And then we've got to factor by add multiply. So I'm adding to this invisible 1, multiplying to negative 20. That means that I've got minus 4 and plus 5. So then my next step is to t-chart to get those x values. 2 equals 0 doesn't work, x equals 4, and x equals negative 5. Now remember that for a solution you have to have y values as well. So I'm going to take these and plug them into the easiest equation from the original problem. And in this case it would be the y equals negative x plus 5. So I plug in, I have y equals negative 4 plus 5, meaning y equals 1. The next one I have y equals negative 5 plus 5. So that's really positive 5 plus 5, which is y equals 10. So what we're potentially saying is that we have 4, 1, and negative 5, 10 as solutions. But again, we have to do a check in order to confirm this. So you're going to use your calculator. If you need to go back and double check how to type in those relations or those circle functions, not functions, circle equations, then you should just rewind your video a little bit. So I'm going to sketch a check after having done it in my calculator. Yours should look very similar. Alright, so my check in the calculator showed that they crossed at 4,1 and negative 5,10, so I boxed in my answer because I did not have to reject any values. Flip it over to the next page and we'll see one more example. So this one here just looks a little different because this equation is in general form, not standard form. And therefore we don't know exactly what the center and radius are, but it works still in the same way. You have to get one equation equal to a variable. So let's do this one. We'll say y equals negative x plus 2 by bringing that x to the other side. Then I'm going to still substitute this into any place that I see y. And then I'm going to rewrite this so I have x squared plus, remember this is the whole quantity squared, so negative x plus 2 quantity squared, minus 4x plus 22 times that whole quantity, negative x plus 2, plus 60 equals 0. Holy moly, it looks like a lot of work. And it could be. Just take your time and work through it though. So we've got x squared plus this thing will look like negative x plus 2, negative x plus 2, minus 4x. I'm going to distribute, so minus 22x plus 44 plus 60 equals 0. Okay, in my next step I'm going to try to combine like terms, but I'm also going to double distribute. So I have x squared plus x squared minus 2x plus 4. Then I've got this minus 4x minus 22x, so minus 26x. And then we also have plus 44 plus 60, so that makes plus 104 equals 0. Combine again, just taking step by step. X squared makes 2x squared. Negative 2x, negative 26x makes negative 30x. 4 and 104 makes positive 108 equals 0. It's a cool thing that it's equal to 0 because then that means we can start factoring. So again, think about what's in common. What would be left over? And then how to factor from there. So you should come up with two numbers that add to negative 15 multiply to 54. Pause your video while you think about it. Come up with your x values. And then also come up with your y values. So first things first, I came up with minus 9, minus 6, so x equals 9 and x equals 6. Then I'm plugging back in to find the y's. And I'm plugging into the easiest equation, which would be that negative x plus 2. So in this case, negative 9 plus 2 gives me negative 7. And negative 6 plus 2 gives me negative 4. So I'm saying that I believe the solutions are 6, negative 4, and 9, negative 7. But again, I want to do a check to be sure. So type them into your calculator, sketch a graph of what your check looks like, and then you'll be golden. So because my check worked out in the calculator and I sketched it, I can now box this in as my answer. Let us know if you have questions. If you are watching the video at home, which you should be, jot your questions down in the margin and we can answer them next class for you. Don't forget to do practice problems because practice helps you guarantee that you are going to maintain that information for longer than if you were to not do the practice problems. All right, let us know if you have questions. Otherwise, see ya.